What's up, everybody? I want to welcome you all to the first audio installment of Know Your Rep King 101. I'm your host, Jay Will. So, before we get started, I just want to start by thanking you all for the support that you've been showing, whether it's been coming to the site every day or going to the Facebook page and liking and sharing the post, or going to Instagram and liking and following that account. Just want to let you guys know that I'm very appreciative of that. So, I want to go ahead and get into the topic, which is always put yourself first. So this was like my second post that I put on my website. And I'm going ahead and go and read this quickly for you guys and then talk about it a little bit further afterwards. So it starts off with, "What's up, Kings? It's time for another installment of Know Your Worth King 101. The topic that will be discussed is always put yourself first. One of the main principles that I used when it comes to Know Your Worth King is that I always put myself first. I know plenty of guys who struggle with the concept of putting themselves first in all aspects of their life. This is especially true when it comes to men dealing with the women in their life. Whether it's your girlfriend or your wife, you should always put yourself first. We have been programmed to care about how our women feel, and guys are used to terms like happy wife, happy life. But what about us? Guys have to understand that women are always going to sell their betterment first because that's what they feel like is most important. For you guys that are married or in relationships, have you gotten to the point where she was happy but you were miserable? I remember when I was like that in my last relationship, and even she told me that I need to focus on myself instead of her. I was so pissed when she told me that at the time, but I understand more now than ever. That's why when a man puts himself first, women get bent out of shape because they are not used to this type of treatment. Or you guys that are miserable right now, start putting yourself first in your marriage or your relationship and see how things start to get better for you. For example, I was in a 4 year relationship, which ended once I started to remember I had balls again. My ex was trying to figure herself out and really didn't know what her next move was. Throughout the relationship, I made her and her daughter happiness my priority. But as time went on, I started to notice that even though they were happy, I was feeling miserable. Add on to the fact that she didn't have a filter when it came to her mouth either. But as soon as I started to care more about me than her, I started to see the change in her. She started to want more attention from me, and her interest had skyrocketed. She is not an outlier. The majority of these women will respond the same way. So remember, Kings, you should come first before anything else. There will be people who will test you to see if they can knock you off your center. But once they see that they can't do that, men respect you more and women are more attracted to you. So just to go in a little bit more detail about always putting yourself first. I remember when in that relationship, I pulled my ex to the side and talked to her and told her how I was feeling resentment towards her because, like I said in the post, I put their happiness as my number one priority. I used to drive her daughter to daycare. We only had one car. We stayed together. I used to do all the driving. I used to do a lot of things just to make them happy, but also I wanted to get that validation from her. I wanted her to tell me that I was doing a good job. When I wasn't getting that validation, it created resentment. And I remember sitting her down one day and just letting it all out, telling her like how I resented her because I was doing so much and she wasn't properly thanking me for it and stuff. And her response was basically, you should try to make yourself happy instead of trying to make me happy. And at that time, I was pissed off and it made me even more mad with her because that's not what I wanted to hear. But in hindsight, that was the realest advice she ever gave me because once I started doing that, once I started putting myself first, we was kind of already on the way out anyway, but I could see the changes in her because I started focusing on myself. And next thing you know, like I started getting promoted at work. Like things started just happening for me once I started really focusing on myself. So a lot of you guys are probably in a position now where you're miserable and you're trying to figure out a way to get around certain things, especially when it comes to like your wife or your girlfriend. But the first thing I'll always say to man is put your happiness first. If you're not happy with whatever situation is, you're the man in the relationship. You have to be the one that make the changes because always remember everything trickles down from you. So if you're not happy, the whole conglomerate's not gonna be happy. That trickles down from you to your wife, your girlfriend, and if you got kids, it trickles down to them as well. So always remember that. Always put yourself first.